Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Chris. That was a great talk. And I agree with you. This community is going in a good direction. I'm Lizz Parody, just like Chris mentioned. I'm head developer advocate at NodeSource, and here I am with Jared. He is the founder and CEO of Bun, and I'm with James Snell. He is a principal engineer at Cloudfare Workers and Node.js core contributor, and also a member of the TSC. How are you both this morning?
Doing fantastic. Need a lot more coffee.
Well, I think there's lots outside, so no problem. So we're going to talk about runtime governability. My first question for the both of you is, the JavaScript runtime space has evolved quickly from Node to Deno to Bun. How do you both define the purpose of a runtime today compared when Node.js first emerged?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll take that. It's a great question. For me, the runtime is just a tool, right? Jared and I were just talking this morning and made a comment about, people build applications. They don't care necessarily about the runtime itself. When Node was the one that was like the only one available, then a lot of focus was on, oh yeah, Node is cool, Node is great. It was great because it let us build these applications, right? And but now that there's Deno and there's Bun and there's Workers and there's all these other other choices out there, the runtime is actually far less important than the things you can actually build on, and that's the role. It just needs to be there and work.
Yeah, I think for the most part, at bare minimum, it needs to work, and that's why we spent so much time on Node compatibility, because people aren't going to rewrite their code, and it's not worth it for people to rewrite their code. But also, I think that one thing that's interesting is that kind of the set of tools, the kinds of tools people use now are relatively well known. This wasn't true 10 years ago, but most projects, or many projects need a bundler, many projects need a minifier, many projects need a test runner, and so I think that's kind of part of how the role of a runtime has evolved, is that to be the expectations are a lot higher.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's about what you can create and that it works, and know more about the runtime. Yeah, it's good. So James, Node has been around for 15 years, a long time. What does governance look today, and how it has evolved to keep Node relevant in such a fast-growing environment, changing all the time?
Yeah, man, I've been involved with Node for just over 10 years now, which is, all the gray is from Node specifically. And when I got involved, it was, yes, IAGS was happening. Yes, there was all this kind of churn and kind of people still trying to figure out what the community was. Well, and early on, that was the focus, is how are we going to shape this community? Now, it really is just technical governance, keeping the wheels on the bus, keeping the project going, right? So, all the governance for the project now is, let's keep CI green, let's keep the infrastructure up and running, let's, let's bring in new contributors who can, bring in fresh ideas to the project and that kind of thing. A lot of these community issues have really, I'm not going to say that they've gone away, because they're still there. We still have a diversity problem in the project. There's not enough women. There's not enough minority groups and stuff participating in the project. I mean, we still have to fix that. We haven't done it yet, but we seem to have finally gotten past a lot of that early churn and drama that was there, and we're focusing on the project dynamics. What does the project need to move forward? And that's been a very welcome shift. I think a lot of people have just got burnt out on the drama that was there in the ecosystem. It was everywhere. It was pervasive. Everywhere you looked. I remember Node Summit. I can't remember the year. I had a talk, but I spent the entire 3 days dealing with community drama.
Oh.
The only part of the conference I was able to attend was my talk. So I'm glad we're past that days, and we're we can just focus on what's going on. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I haven't seen any dramas here, so we're good in a good direction. This question is for Jared. Band development started as a small, fast-moving project. How do you think about governance and community involvement as it grows? Will eventually need like a formal governance structure such as Node.js?
We're not quite there yet. I would say though that like initially it was just like me just like pushing code, and then now we have about we have about 10 people, 10 engineers working on Bun, and also a number of contributors. I don't really know yet from like a governance perspective, but I think what we're doing now is mostly we make decisions pretty quickly, and there hasn't been like a lot of like most of the controversy so far has been like, oh, we added the proxy option to fetch, and things like that. But yeah, I guess I don't. I think like where we are now, it's pretty good for our like size, and I think adding more would be mostly if we do, then it would be based on like what users run into and that sort of thing.
Cool, thank you. This question is for anybody who wants to answer. Open source sustainability is a real issue. What should your modern runtime projects do differently to ensure that maintainers, contributors, and companies can succeed and they can thrive in the long term?
This is one I think about a lot. It just basically just comes down to, if you're a company that's using open source, you have a responsibility to support the people that are contributing to it, whether they work for you or not. Find ways of contributing, providing resources, providing money, providing opportunities, jobs, right? Mm-hmm. So many companies still, and it drives me crazy, look at open source as just free software, and it's not free, right? It has a real cost, and that real cost may be burning the people out that you rely on to write the software that your business is depending on. So, as individuals, yes, go do the thing that you love. If you're a company, pay for the thing you're using. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I'm very, very strong on that one.
Yeah. In our case, we're fortunate that we raised some money, and we pay for, like, we pay our employees to work on Bun. Longer term, we'll probably end up doing hosting, but in the short term, we're very focused just on adoption. So we're sort of avoiding working on this right now.
Now, I will say though, it's like, Bun, very small company, very focused on building the product, but you have employees like Megan, who are active in the community, who are active going out and they have the support of the company to go off and do those things. It's like so many of these startups, these small companies, Platformatic, Mateo's company, and stuff like that, they're out there like, very small budgets, very small, focus, but they are contributing so much to the ecosystem. And then you have these massive companies that are like, we might sponsor your event. Yeah, we'll throw a little bit at you, kind of thing. And yes, I welcome the sponsorships and I welcome that thing. But it's, it shouldn't be the burden of these smaller companies to go off and support this ecosystem, right? Because, it's the big companies, it's these massive ones. They're the ones that are getting the most benefit out of this, right? And they're not pulling their weight.
Yeah, this would be an invitation for all of you and your companies to start contributing. You can talk to James, to Jared, to Robin.
Yeah.
So yeah. If you could redesign the JavaScript runtime layer today from scratch, what's one architectural decision that you absolutely do the same, and one architectural decision that you would do completely different?
Streams suck. Yeah. Yeah. The whole, I know y'all have felt this pain as well. Every runtime has felt this pain. Getting like node streams and web streams to actually work together in a decent way, we need to kind of step back and rethink this a lot.
Yeah, it was like, in Bun's case, like, we have a different implementation for, like, I think there's like a matrix of like, if you want to get the response as like text, then and like one end is like a node stream internally, and then the other end is like, and it's like inside of a response object, and like it's like a whole. There's so much complexity.
Yeah, and it just comes down to, like, early on, Node was like, we're Node, we're not the browser, we're not going to act like the browser, and the browser was like, we're the browser, we're not going to act like Node, and it's like, you're all freaking JavaScript developers, work together, please, and just like have one way of doing it. And the blame doesn't, the blame is not on anyone, like TC39 going off and doing their thing. Node refused to be involved, and so like decisions were made, and you know, it is what it is. But it goes back to what Chris was talking about. The people are what matter, and if people were just talking to each other, right, then we would have made a lot better decisions. And we are kind of stuck where we're at now. So.
Jared, what's your long-term vision for Bun? Will it still focus to being a runtime, or it will evolve to being like a broader platform?
Yeah, we're in the short term, we're very much just focused on stability, honestly. But like longer term, I think JavaScript can be a lot more productive than it is right now. Like I think for a lot of applications, like both Ruby on Rails and I'm going to mispronounce this, Laravel, I don't know how to pronounce it, tend to be more productive for a lot of different, for just like shipping software. And that's like despite JavaScript having the advantage of being something that runs in both the browser and on the server. And having been like the ceiling is higher with JavaScript, but the floor is still lower in terms of like productivity, or like floor of like developer productivity, ceiling of end user experience. So probably we're going to have more in like high level APIs in Bun. Like we're probably going to have some way to do like static site generation. We're probably going to have like a button.email API at some point, for example. That's like the two extremes. Like one is like related to like the bundler, and then the other is related to something that pretty much every application needs, which is how do I send email? Yeah.
Very cool. James, what excites you the most about where Node.js is heading in the next 3 to 5 years? Are there any upcoming features or areas of experimentation that could redefine Node.js?
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt that the most exciting thing about Node development, like whenever I get this question 3 to 5 years out, is I have no idea. You know, there's no roadmap, right? It's whatever the community and whatever the individual contributors really want to push forward. And you know, we'll see. We'll see what's there. Now, one thing I am super excited about, finally, after 6 years working on it, Quick is finally moving forward. We had to work on some issues with OpenSSL and what was going to happen there, but as time allows, I'm planning on taking basically December off to kind of push it over the line and get it done. So hopefully next year we'll have a working, functional, quick implementation, server and client in Node. So that's fun. That's the one thing. But 3 to 5 years, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I'm looking for the new contributors. Just on a personal note, my son's involved in the project, and he's got ideas, and he's moving things forward. So I'm kind of excited to see what idea he comes up with next to do, and we'll see.
Nice. And you, Jared, what do you think? Do you have like a plan for 3 to 5 years? Roadmap?
Yeah, one's going to do a lot more stuff. One thing I definitely want to do. This is not like like a big thing, but this is like a thing that I definitely want us to add at some point, is like some better ways to do concurrency. Because I think all of it sort of is what, just like whatever browsers do, is sort of how it works right now. And on the server, that doesn't actually make a lot of sense. I had like a branch that like adds like a hash table that like you can use on multiple threads that like share strings. I think these are like small things, but I think there's like something that should be done better there. But for the most part, we're going to add a lot more APIs to Bun and like make it a lot more productive.
Nice. This question is for both of you. Of course, we can't be here and not talk about AI. So we're seeing AI, edge computing, and serverless redefining how applications are built and how everything is interacting with everything. How will JavaScript runtimes adapt to the next chapter and the next wave of computing?
Yeah, with AI, you've probably seen the meme. It's Clint Eastwood. He's like just old guy sitting on the porch. He's got this look on his face, kind of like, get off my lawn. That's me with AI. Like I've just been super grumpy and the old curmudgeon about it. I promised one of my guys that I work with that I would take an honest look at it the past couple months. And I've actually been making use of Claude and generate tests and that kind of thing. It works. I think as long as it's positioned correctly, I don't think it's going to change the runtime itself. The runtimes, these tools, they're kind of the foundational pieces of it. I mean, they're there, and there's not a lot of, like we're never gonna. I don't think we're ever gonna see like AI like integrated into Node or into Bun or into Dino or any of these runtimes. But these are the foundational pieces that drive the innovation on this. Like they support it, right? They're a piece of it. But in terms of how we develop, right? I use Claude for brainstorming, right? I'll sit there and just kind of ask it questions and guide the conversation, just so it's like something that I can bounce ideas off of, right? Or for generating the tests that are just always annoying to do. So I mean, it plays a role. It's a tool, just like the runtime is a tool. By itself, I mean, I'm not that worried, about it taking over too much because. It's quite stupid still. It comes up with the wrong answer more often than not.
I kind of disagree.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, nice.
Pretty much most of our, like when we add new APIs to Bun, we always like try it out with Claude and like kind of see, does it guess? Like APIs need to be guessable, both by humans but also by agents. I use like Cloud Code a good amount. We have like an internal bot that where whenever there's an easy issue, then or like an issue that looks easy, then I just ask the bot to try to fix it, and it gets it right some percentage of the time. And then we also have like a slop GitHub label where if it gets it wrong, then it auto closes the PR and makes it disappear. But I think all of this stuff does need to be designed to work really well with agents, pretty much going forward. I do think that they're going to end up writing a very high percentage of code.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And to you, Jared, how do you balance innovation with compatibility? For example, how much effort should be spent maintaining Node.js compatibility versus defining new standards?
For us, really the answer is 90% should be spent on Node compatibility, maybe higher. We still have some work to do there, but we're very, very actively working on it. I think it's honestly really easy to add new stuff. It's much more work to be compatible with the existing stuff. And also both being compatible and fast. It's there's so many, it's always carving out special cases and then you try to make the special cases fast. Or you optimize specifically for the common cases, but yeah, it's like you have fast paths and you have slow paths.
Cool. Well, Chris before was telling us one of his favorite stories in the community. I want to ask you both, what is your favorite story in the Node.js community, and what's your favorite story in the community?
Go first.
I don't know if I honestly have one, because I think I haven't actually done that much. Like, I've kind of been for most of my time working on Bun, I've kind of just like been in a room writing code.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, and you, James?
Really, I mean, it's so hard to pick one. Yeah, so I work from home full time. I've worked from home like for 25 years. Getting out to these conferences, getting out to these events, you know, for me, it's always, you know, this is the family get together, right? For me, this is the time where I can actually just, you know, see people, you know, and like, hey, how's it going? You know, talking about it. For me, that's always been my favorite part, and I can't pick just one of those events because it's all of them, right? NodeConf EU, I was involved with that for like 7 years. This is the first year we're not having a NodeConf EU, and I'm really sad about it. I don't get to go back to Ireland, you know, and see my friends back there and do that. We're going to try to do it next year for sure. So you know, it's like that little twinge where like, oh, we're not doing it. You know, it was just like that, like little dagger to the heart. So yeah, it's just getting together like this and having the talks in the hallway and, you know, having breakfast with folks and just catching up, like, you know, sharing life. Last night I was sitting at a table and you had people who work for competing companies, but they're great friends, you know, and it's like the companies compete and we just get together and talk, right, and share. I love that. That's my favorite part.
Cool.
So.
What's one myth about the runtime that you would like to clear up? It's like, no, this is not true.
That anything's going to kill Node, like, you know, like Dino and Bun.
We never say that.
I know, and that's the funny thing. Like even, you know, Ryan with Dino, he's like, I never said that we're going to kill Node, but, you know, everyone else did. And then same thing, but Node's going away. No, it's not. You know, like our downloads are increasing. Bun's downloads are increasing, Dino's downloads are increasing. We're just all getting more users, so it's like, that's, yeah, nothing's going to happen to it. Unless Node kills itself, it's not going anywhere. So, yeah.
And you?
Like, people say that we don't care about standards, but we do, because we spend a lot of time implementing them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you know they care about standards. If JavaScript had to run somewhere new tomorrow, like an entirely different kind of device, what do you want it to see happens first? Like glasses or microcheck, or what do you think could run?
I think it's important to know that just like any tool, it's not always suitable for every case, right? JavaScript doesn't need to run everywhere, right? It needs to run where it's, you know, where it works the best. The best analogy I heard, and I think I've said this a couple times in a couple conversations, it's like trying to figure out how, you know, which tool you use to cut the board best, a hammer or a screwdriver. No, it's the wrong tool. So, you know, I think it's, I think as engineers, we tend to focus like I have this tool, let me use it for everything, versus let's find the right tool or build the right tool for that particular thing. So it's, you know, for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that JavaScript needs to run on the glasses, right? If the best experience for the glasses is for a completely new thing to be built, let's do that, right? And let's keep it focused. But yeah, that's kind of where
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I think that like the best place for JavaScript is browsers and servers.
Yeah.
So. And how do you decide which feature to implement at the runtime level versus leaving it to the community?
Two answers to that. One, Cloudflare employee, whatever our customers ask for, we just go ahead and build it, and that's what we're going to add. We did the whole node compatibility because customers were just demanding it, that kind of thing. On a personal level, whatever is fun. Like the quick work, yes, it's been hard, but for me, that has been an absolute blast to work on. So that's what I decided to work on.
For Bun, it depends. Basically, it's like for some things like bun.strip ANSI or bun.stringwidth, it's like there's this npm package that gets double-digit millions of downloads, and we can make it like many times faster, like 30 or 100 or 200 times faster if we implement it in native code and use SIMD. In those cases where it's like maybe like 300, 400 lines of code to implement and double-digit millions of downloads, it's pretty obvious that it's the right thing to do when you can have that much of a speed up. Because it both is a speed up and also it makes it a little bit simpler. You have one less dependency to install. The bigger things, it's sort of like things like Postgres or MySQL or like S3. Those are all things which have been around for like 10 or more years, and a lot of applications just end up like needing them, and then we can make it a lot simpler if it's installed as like a built-in, and in a lot of cases faster too, like much faster. There's like a constant balance of like, okay, we're adding all this stuff, how do we actually maintain it? And the answer to that is that like, or at least what I'm seeing is that there's actually a lot of overlap between all the things that we implement. So like MySQL and Postgres share a lot of code, despite being different protocols. The underlying implementation is pretty similar. They both need to like serialize and deserialize data. They both need to worry about like GC, worry about like when should the socket be kept alive and not kept alive, like keep the process alive. A similar thing with Redis. But it's sort of like, okay, is this like a very simple thing that, not simple as in like complicated, but like, is this something that pretty much every application ends up needing, and is it relatively like well understood? Is it mature? Is it something that we can confidently continue to maintain for another 10 years? Then, and also is it like really popular? Then like potentially but also there's going to definitely be some upper limit of like what can we add to Bun, because also our binary size keeps going up and that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
But I think we'll also find more. It's sort of this thing where like you find more clever ways to make it, the binary size go down. Originally it was just like, okay, here's a bunch of really fancy linker flags to like find various tricks to make it go down, and then eventually we'll probably have some like multiple builds of Bun that like, and then like choose which build to use. This is particularly important for like single file executables when people use bun build -- compile to make a single file build.
Yeah, I will see somewhere someone is crying about small core. Right? I mean, yes, there's always this effort of the runtime needs to be super small, let the ecosystem build all the stuff. Excuse me. But we've always had this pressure of, no, it needs to be there. The tools need to be together. They need to work well together. And it ends up making this, where, yeah, binary size is going to increase. We have to bundle more. We have to do more things. But that's the only way to make it work to the developer experience that people actually need, right? And this is a lesson that I think Node was just hard learned. But the runtimes like Dino and Bun are really pushing Node towards this, right? Like it's like, no, you have to learn this lesson. You have to learn that the developer experience is so much more important than just that engineering purity of like keep it small, right? So I think the more that y'all do this, like add these features and do these things, it's going to continue to put that pressure on and force Node to evolve. So personally, I'm very thankful to y'all doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, keep it up. It's good stuff.
And my next question involves the people in the audience. So what do you tell them if they want to start contributing to Node or to Bun? What do you tell them?
Getting involved with Node, just open PRs, find stuff. There's tons of tests that need to be fixed. There's documentation that needs to be fixed. That's all like tedious, busy work that no one like really enjoys doing, but it needs to get done. But also, if there's just some feature you think would be fun to work on, right? Do it, right? Bring it. Like I said, there's no roadmap in Node. It's whatever the contributors want to do in the project, and what they're interested in working on. Just do it. You can always find somebody in the project who's willing to help you do it. Like if you're wondering about it, just ping me on Blue Sky or send me an email. I would love to jump on a call with you and just say, yeah, let's figure it out. Let's work it through. Yeah, I mean, that's just start doing it, right? Like don't think that there has to be some big process to get involved. Just start opening PRs.
Yeah, for Bun, similar. You can just like throw up a PR. I think like probably the easiest things to contribute to are generally like Node compatibility stuff, because a lot of that you can directly just look at what Node does. And also look at what existing libraries do. And more of that is like reading code than writing code usually, which means it's generally easier to contribute to. We do need to get better at reviewing PRs faster. That's currently something that we do not spend enough time on, and I feel bad about it. But like, we do definitely want more contributors.
It's hard. More contributors can help. Like with that, because there was one time, I think with Node, I think our high water mark was something like we were landing 95 PRs a week, and just kind of reviewing. It was incredible amount of work. But just what I found is just you don't always have to be the one to review the PR, right? Like you can encourage another way to get people involved is invite the community to review PRs. And
yeah, maybe I review too many PRs. Like maybe more people.
Yeah, and like, one of the things I learned with Node very early on is I don't need to know everything that's going into it. I don't need to read every PR. Trust the team, trust the community, and it's worked. I mean, I don't agree with every decision for everything that's landed, but I don't need to. For a corporate project, kind of thing, if you're building a company, it's a little harder, right? You need to have more control over it.
We can like merge a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly the tricky part is making sure that like everything works and stuff.
Yeah, the quality control. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your advice to the next generation of developers who might one day build or maintain the next great runtime?
Have fun. Focus on what on kind of really what you enjoy building, right? But also, like things like AI, like they're powerful, important tools. But what I've seen in some cases is people starting to rely on it too much, where rather than kind of enjoying the learning process on how does this work, you shortcut it and have somebody else tell you how it works, and then you just don't really go deep on it yourself. I'm one of those that growing up, as soon as I learned I could decompile parts of Windows, I was decompiling and I was learning how it worked, and it was all this kind of thing, and I could like figure out all the internals. Focus on that, like really dig into how things work, and then it becomes much more fun to build it yourself.
I would say read a lot of code.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time reading code, and I think a lot of developers don't spend enough time reading code. Like, it's a lot easier to write a bunch of code than to read it. And like, until you spend a lot of time reading code.
Yeah.
Good advices from both of you. We have 5 minutes left, and I would love to involve the audience. So if anybody has questions, please raise your hand. No questions? Yeah?
Yes, I have a question for Jared. So you said you are slow with reviews from the community, right? So would you say you have a problem with people coming in and flooding with PRs, which are just AI slow, and which it kind of just wastes your time in the pipeline?
There's a few PRs that have been like that, but I think not a ton. I think more so people don't always like run the code before they submit the PR. And that's more the thing where it's like, okay, I can explain, but also it's like, there's a balance of like, sometimes it takes more time to explain than to fix the issue.
Exactly right. So do you have a filtering system on how you decide which PRs you will dedicate time to? Or is there like...
It's like, definitely like not like a formally written one, but like, I look at like who submitted the PR, and is it like, do they work at a company that looks like does it seem like they're like, especially if it's like they're trying to fix an issue that they ran into, then I think it's very important. If it's like, like the opposite extreme of that is like making a change to something just for the fun of making a change to something, and then not checking it works. But I very much, when I see it's like, oh, they work at a company that's like trying to use Bun for something and they're trying to fix their issue, then I like prioritize that really high.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? My last question would be, if you had to describe the future of JavaScript runtimes in one sentence, what would it be?
It's going to do a lot more stuff.
Yeah, it's just going to keep, we're nowhere near the end. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for being here and answer all these questions. I hope everybody enjoyed this panel. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks.
Bye.